We got Derrick Lewis taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov, or as Derrick Lewis would like to say, Shamil beep bop beep, or whatever he said. Did you see that little gif that he posted or whatever? Derrick Lewis, a minus 210 favorite, comeback on Shamil, plus 165. What's your take here?
I kind of been always waiting to fade Derrick Lewis. I don't think he's the most spectacular guy. I mean, he's vaunted for his punching power, however, and you actually pointed this out, thought that I always had in my head, but you definitely pointed out when you were cutting tape on him. It's not like he really knocks out anybody standing. He's got great power, but he generally has to get you to the ground, get on top of you, and pound you out. I keep thinking to myself, someone's going to stuff the takedown. His cardio is suspect. I don't think he can go good 3 rounds. I don't think he can go 5 rounds. I think if you take him down, he's a fish out of his water on his back. He's got all these glaring issues. I tried to fade him on the Roy Nelson fight. I did. I thought Roy could take all of his best punches. Yeah. Roy's much better on the ground. Roy gets him on the ground. Obviously, there's a bias
and
there.
A lot of that plan worked.
Yeah, and there's a bias there. I thought Roy won at the end of the fight, but there's no denying it was a 1-1 going into the 3rd round. Roy's winning the 3rd round. That hellacious shot that would have broken most people's necks.
Which proved that he still has power at the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah, if it wasn't Roy Nelson, the guy probably goes down and ends up in a hospital bed. But I didn't think he won that fight. However, there's no denying that was the most significant punch of the 3rd round. He likely did steal it based on that, so I'm not holding anything against him. He just beat a top 15 guy, top 10 guy in Roy Nelson. He's moving up the ladders. Okay, I'll fade him the next time out. Problem is, this is not really the time you're going to fade him because with Shamil Abdurakhimov, look at his loss against Timothy Johnson. He's doing fairly okay. The second he ends up with Timothy Johnson on top of him, Timothy Johnson pounds him out. That happens to almost everybody Derrick Lewis fights. If he gets on top of you, he's going to pound you out. The guy's very athletic. He's fairly young, especially considering he's a heavyweight, and he seems to be developing. He gets new wrinkles. The biggest thing about him, the best thing about him, not the biggest thing about him is his hands, but the best thing about him is that confidence. He seems very confident to the point that when he does get taken down, he don't panic. He just hangs out, eventually works his way back up, which he did against Roy. And when he works his way up,
Gonzaga as well. That's what everyone was worried about. If Gonzaga got him to the ground,
and he makes
trouble.
you pay. Now, the thing with Abdurakhimov is this fight likely stays standing. He's not trying. I don't think he's going to try to get the fight to the ground unless he thinks to himself, I don't want to stand with Derrick Lewis. And look at the Grabowski fight, same thing. It's like you end up on your back for 2 seconds, Derrick Lewis hits you a couple times, you're out. So I don't think he's going to try to actively get that takedown. The one thing he does got going for him is that he's infinitely faster standing than Lewis. Lewis is fast for a big man, but this guy moves like a 205, or he moves laterally well. The biggest issue is that Derrick Lewis obviously has the punching power, and Shamil Abdurakhimov does not have the same pop in his punches.
Yes,
you don't want to stand for 15 minutes, let alone 25 minutes with the Black Bees.
You could almost compare the mobility to Mitrione, and Derrick Lewis struggled against Mitrione, got knocked out by Mitrione, but Mitrione's got the power. We haven't seen that from Shamil Abdurakhimov.
Because he's even though
he went 3 rounds,
big,
with Anthony Freight Train Hamilton.
That's bad news.
Who he's you can argue having a bit of a resurgence or whatever, but like.
Not in this guy.
If you have power in this division, you're going to put him away. And yeah, Shamil, I'm actually surprised it's a heavyweight fight, so like I like when the lines don't get too big. But I'm actually surprised that Derrick Lewis I got him actually a few days ago at like minus 180. It was minus 180 that I got him at. And now he's up to minus 210, minus 190 in some spots. So
well, he's been finished in the past. He's not coming off the most spectacular fight. And I think when you factor in that it's 5 rounds instead of 3, what is round 4 and 5? If it gets there, what's that going to look like? But certainly when you look at it on paper, Derrick Lewis is on the better run right now. And I even keep thinking to myself that we're talking about mobility.
He just beat Roy Nelson. It's just like, why is he taking on Shamil? And it's not like this is a late replacement. They booked him against Shamil.
Yeah, they booked him, and they wanted to headline this. Actually, he was initially Marcin Tybura, I think he was supposed to fight, and then it turns into Shamil Abdurakhimov.
It's been Abdurakhimov for a while, though.
Yeah. So Derrick Lewis is going to be prepped for this. Obviously, it's a big spot, and I think if you're him and you got into this sport strictly to make money, not that you necessarily like beating guys up, you just want to make the money. Hey, headlining a fight night card.
I'm in a good spot to get a $50,000 bonus.
Great spot to get a $50,000 bonus, and then obviously if they have trusted me to fight in a 5-round fight, because you don't really book heavyweights in 5 rounds for the most part, because it could get really out of hand and really bad. But they've obviously got the faith in him. He's an exciting guy. And then just the last point on that is you look back at the Roy Nelson fight. Yes, this guy's got awesome punches, don't get me wrong, but his body kicks are nasty,
When he puts the heat on you, it's aggressive.
Exactly. So whereas most guys, if you're trying to track Shamil, you're going to have to cut him off. Derrick Lewis doesn't particularly cut off the ring well. What he does is he runs at you and throws the body kick. So you move into the kick, and he ends up connecting. He's a bad man. He's a bad man. He's going to have to show something in this fight at minus 210. I don't mind it.
And Shamil, for being a Dagestani fighter, may be the most unimpressive wrestling.
They're not all wrestlers. Some of them got sand shaft
Most of
background.
them are, though.
I think his is like more of a traditional martial arts background.
course.
But you're right. You're right.
He's still. Anybody going like, these guys are haters, he's like, both of these guys would knock me out in about 2 seconds. It wouldn't take very long. Maybe Derrick Lewis, I could actually survive a little bit longer because I could get away from him for like 3, 4 to 4
One of those body
seconds.
kicks would break you in half like a 2x4.